Welcome, everybody. I'm Sarah Blessing with Project Next, and this is Get the Word Out. And I'm really excited for this guest today. I just found out about her. It's Katherine Callahan, and she is a Republican running for Indiana State Senate in District 25. And she is tackling Republican corruption from within. She's actually helped to make her Republican Party better in her own county. How has she done this? She's also using the law for her benefit. She's pointing out what illegal things people are doing. She is calling out corruption in this state as a Republican, which is a very, very brave thing to do. And I am just so pleased that she wanted to come on immediately. I talked to her on the phone. She's like, yes, let's do it. Let's call this out. Let's make things better. But how can we use this? How can we use Katherine's lessons that she's learned these last few years battling government, Indiana, corruption for our benefit? What can we learn? We know at Project Next, we're trying to save Indiana, trying to make this beautiful state better. Here's somebody that's actively doing it. What can we learn from her? That's what the point of this episode is about. On the Democrat side, we are battling our own types of, trying to get power, trying to get the right people power, and the people that have power that aren't doing great are clinging to it with all their might, and it's really hard to get rid of them. She's got tips, you all. Katherine Callahan, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I am excellent. Now, I've never heard of you guys, so this is a great thing. And I will get this shared amongst our Madison County viewers, Hamilton County viewers, and beyond. I'm just very grateful that you guys have found me and that they've connected us. So, for those that don't know, I'm in Madison County, a little bit part of Hamilton County, and that is kind of in the central part of Indianapolis or Indiana. So we're kind of between Indianapolis, Ball State, Hamilton County kind of area. So
And it's a
you
very
guys,
red area, right? It's
it's
like fully
very red.
Republican
Yes.
control. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very red. And you're down south.
Yeah, I'm in Harrison County. That's also, it's 100% Republican controlled. We do not have a township advisory board member that's a Democrat here. They went so far, there were some people that used to be Democrats and then they switched to be Republicans
Sure.
whenever people started voting Republican, and our Republicans here have voted all of them out. So
Okay.
yeah, I
Well,
think there might be.
that's interesting. We haven't been able to get that done here. I would say probably 60% of the people are Republicans, are Democrats that are still in Republican seats. In our county, we have no Democrats at all. And then in our city of Anderson, which is our largest city, has a Democrat mayor.
All
And
right.
so that's an interesting concept because when we had the race in 23, all the countywide people who won were all Republicans, but we still kept seat with the mayor being a Democrat. And why that's an interesting situation is because statistically it's kind of unheard of, right? Um, and when we were going into the final count of the race, the Democrats at large, who were also incumbents, were in the lead. Suddenly, power was lost. And when the power came back on, the machines filtered out that they had lost. And it was just a very strange situation. And so it's just kind of interesting how things work here in Madison County. We have uncovered how they can manipulate ballots and fix the machines. That was a case that actually made national news because they tried to arrest one of the constituents for illegally taking the ballots. So that
So you
that was an
actually
interesting case too.
you had voter fraud in your county? You,
Um,
well,
so
voter, like not fraud, like not the voters, but the people counting the votes.
Well, we've never been able to prove it,
Okay.
right? Because it's a very tight-knit group up here. It's hard to penetrate. The whole reason why they want us to stand down and be silenced is because like too much. But how this all got started was in 2020 we wanted to run for a coroner, a practice partner of mine in my office, and he was a physician, and we called and we wanted to do this service. And the Republican chair at the time, by the name of Russ Willis, was like, how do you feel you people are qualified to do this? Well, he had a 20-year-old that he wanted to run in that position. And
For
so
coroner.
for
And you're a
coroner,
nurse
and our answer
practitioner,
was,
correct? You're a nurse
I'm a
practitioner?
nurse. I'm a doctor prepared nurse practitioner, and he's a medical doctor, and it's like, what do you mean? How are we qualified? I don't know how we
So
wouldn't
you're
be
over 20,
qualified.
you're older than 20, you're a nurse practitioner and a
Right.
doctor, and he
Right.
was telling you that you guys weren't as qualified as the 20-year-olds to
That's
run for coroner.
correct. Correct.
We have similar issues with that, not in Harrison County, but in other, I think in Floyd County, a doctor ran against someone that is not a doctor, but the Republican, not a doctor one is the coroner now. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
that.
well,
Yeah.
so from there, after we won, we did it on our own. We did not have any help from the Republican Party, which it's just amazing to me because 2 weeks ago I was removed as a Republican in good standing from the fifth district, and they're like, "Well, your punishment is we don't get to help you with the election," and I'm like. Well, you didn't
You
help me
haven't
in
they haven't
2020 and
helped
I
you.
won. I don't really know how that's a punishment, but okay, whatever floats your boat. So after we won by like over, I don't know, 8,000 votes. It was a big win, right? And it was Democrats who had held that seat for a long time. So we ended up getting that seat. We ended up working that. I was the chief deputy. We
And what
realized
year is
that
this? What year was this?
this is in 2020, and then we went into 2021 is when we took seat. We realized that the office was really just without, right? So it didn't have vehicles that were appropriate. It did not have storage that was appropriate. We were using the hospitals. There's no storage in these hospitals that are secure. Anybody can access them, and the nurses can access it, security can access it. Well, that's not securing bodies, and bodies are evidence.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
So
through that became
you immediately become, well, your friend and you're running the coroner's office and you find problems. You're like, this isn't secure. We need to get some things changed. So you're asking for changes,
right.
right?
And we got bills that were coming in, right? So the commissioner's bills would come to us. Well, we didn't know. We thought it was ours, so we'd open it. There's all these late fees they're paying on the commissioners. And it's like, why are you guys paying late fees? Why are you not getting your bills in on time? So we're asking those questions. And then it comes in, some bills are still coming in, and it's like cosmetic supplies. Well, why would the coroner's office has cosmetic supplies? Well, it was owned by a funeral home, or the previous coroners were owned funeral homes. And we're like, well, where's this all coming from? And so from there was a huge article and write up by a great journalist by the name of Tracy Miller, who took a lot of hits for writing this huge story. Like, she did a lot of investigation, and she's like, you guys have a lot of information here that's actually very factual. In time, Tracy actually connected us with some great people. And it became a battle. I would be gavelled at the podium. I'd be walked out at the podium. We had, our budget just went through the roof because, well, it's COVID. Now, our coroner's office got zero CARES Act money, got zero ARPA money, got zero anything. We got none of the
Why?
funding
Why
at all.
didn't you get over that funding? Is it because
Be-
the people in charge didn't want to give you any of the money?
because in December, the week before we took seat, Russ Willis, who's the GOP chair, called every council member on the county council and said, do not give them money no matter what happens. Now, this is a
Because
Republican.
they didn't want you to win that seat.
Right. And this is a Republican who's supposed to be supporting his fellow Republicans. Well, if there's a person who should not be in good standing, that's the man right there. I don't know how Catherine's on the chopping block, but
So
that's
pretty
exactly
clearly, you've got a couple signs right there. Something's up with this Republican
right.
chair that could be better. There, it seems like there, and I see this with the one we have here, the Republican chair here in Harrison County. They just want the power and the control, and if you don't do what they say, you don't get any of the money, or you don't get
Right.
any
They'll
of the things
defund
you need.
you. They'll
Right.
work against you. They'll do everything they can. Well, this is really how this story evolved. So Tracy does this. We get to know some great people along the way. We get to, you know, intertwine with some other people who are also having some problems with how the government officials are working. And it just happens to be that these are two very highly educated individuals that came together with us. And through that time, we began to think, like, how can we beat the system? I mean, and when you think these four people are beating an entire machine, and that's really, listen, never underestimate what a small group of people can do or change. Don't ever do it,
Well,
because
these
they really
small,
can change the world.
brave, you uncover the truth, you're willing to
Right,
call out. You're
right.
willing to call out the truth to shine a light on what's happening. Whereas most people in your county have learned not to do that.
Correct.
Just stay
And
quiet.
most of them fear retaliation. I mean,
Yes,
certainly
that's
I
ours
was
too.
in the middle of that. I own a medical practice. They were actually calling my physician who works with me there because it's his namesake. And he's like, "I really don't know why you guys are calling me because she owns the practice, not me. So there's nothing I'm going to do. However, if you can show me anything that she's putting up that's not factual, be more than happy to have a discussion with her. But I've never known her to just throw things together. She researches it, she makes sure everything's correct. So we went through that. Well, listen, I have spent my last, I don't know, 30 years studying, educating myself, doing what's best for my patients. Really never got into politics, right? My dad was a retired master sergeant, my brother is a retired full bird colonel. So I was always brought up in the military, but my main focus, because my dad died when I was 9, was to get an education. I was raised in a trailer park. My mom raised us on $350 a month, just my brother and I, and she turned out two quality kids out of a trailer park, right? And she's a first generation. She's Japanese is her first language, English is her second. So through that time period, as we're going through this and things are getting just out of control. I mean, you name it, we've got bodies second. It just became out of control. In the meantime, they have us putting bodies in the back of a refrigerated semi trailer. Well, this goes on for months and months. We're out in the snow, we're out in the
So
rain. I mean,
you are deeply underfunded, right? You're
oh
having
yes,
issues. Is your office not big enough? Is your corners like the
there is no
building?
office.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
that
because we're
sounds like there's
mobile,
a
and
okay.
these are all the things that are a problem with the whole corner situation,
But
right?
but the Republican chair has specifically told everybody in your county, do not give them any
Right,
funding, do not give
right,
them any help. And this is
right,
COVID. More people are dying. You
right,
need more help, and you're
right,
getting none.
and then he takes it so far, as we're going in through 21 to write a letter saying, "I must speak out. These people just don't need all these things, and I am a qualified person to," and I'm thinking to myself, "I
So he's
don't know
going above
where."
and beyond to say they don't
Yeah,
need any
now you're
help
putting
when
it in
very
writing,
clearly you
and I'm
need
like,
help.
"Qualified for what?"
Right.
So we go through the whole process. Now people are upset because they can't view bodies. Well, where am I going to take them? I mean, I don't, and I have to secure the bodies. So we go into 22, and I'm like, you know what? I've only voted once as a Republican. I'm going to apply for state delegate. What state delegate? We don't even have all the people fill out for state delegate here. So they always have to assign somebody in each district
And
anyway.
so state delegates, you guys, I'm a state delegate for I was last time, I am this time. State delegates will go to your either Democrat convention or your Republican convention, and you will get to vote for some of your parties, people that are going to be on the ballot in November. So this last time I voted for Terry Gooden, who became our lieutenant governor candidate with Jennifer McCormick for governor. And that's how Micah Beckwith got picked on the Republican side. Yeah. And then
So
this time we're going to do it for Secretary of State on the Dems. Oh, your side too. You guys are getting some challengers against
oh
Galen
yeah.
Morales.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I think it's great that all these people are challenging and doing all this stuff. I mean, there's nothing about me that wants them not to do
And
it, right?
it's only about 2,000 delegates for the Indiana Democrat side. Is it the same number for the Republican side? Do you know?
Um
I wonder if it's the
I,
same. I wonder if it's the
I
same amount of delegates. I know it depends on how many like Democrats you have per county. So like I think we either get like 11 or 13 or 15 or something in Harrison County, but like in Indianapolis we have a lot more because we have a lot more Democrats in those counties.
I would imagine it's pretty similar to what you guys have. Well, and I didn't get to attend, right? So and here's the thing. There's nothing about Catherine that has to be an elected official, right? But there's everything about Catherine that knows between right and wrong because my mother raised me to know between right and wrong.
You're seeing wrong with what's going on in the Republican
Right?
Party in your county. You're like, this
Yeah.
is wrong.
So
Yeah.
I go in to this challenge that I get challenged, right? And they're like, well, you just don't have two Republican votes. You can't do it. There's nothing else can be said. Now, here's the greatness out of it. And people, what I want you to understand is somebody's got to go out there and put themselves out there. I mean, that's just how it is. So I go to the challenge only to know that Russ Willis had signed off like on 9 Democrats, one being a gentleman who's been a Democrat for 45 years.
So he's telling you, who's voted Republican once, but
right?
not the other times, that you can't be a delegate, but he allowed a bunch of people that have been voting as Democrats to be delegates. So you've got some evidence
Well,
there
and even to run
going
for
against
public
what he said.
office.
Okay.
Right. So now they're getting to run for public office too. When you've got true Republicans who are running. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not how this law was intended. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
I go ahead and I go in there. Well, as I'm in there, there is a black woman sitting in the front row. And as I'm walking past, she goes, Doc, can I get a piece of one of those papers you have? And I don't even know what paper I had. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, sure. So I give it to her. Well, I notice she's holding her phone. I don't know who she is. I don't know what's going on. I go to the podium. So we have our banter or whatever. We already know what
This
we're,
is you being tried to see if you
yeah,
can be a
for
delegate.
for the
Okay.
challenge, right? And of
Okay.
course I lose the challenge. So about a week later, somebody says, "Hey, you need to go get on Mrs. Croom's Facebook page. She's got this video of something." So I'm like, "Okay." So I go, and it had nothing to do with me. It was something totally different. Well, I realized I'm like, this is the woman who was recording. Well, she was the sitting Democrat president for the city council, and she had started putting her council meetings on Facebook Live. She was going to meetings and she's putting it on Facebook Live.
I've done
From
that before.
there,
Yeah.
I decided to think, I'm like, well, if she can do that, I should start doing that because I'm at these meetings anyways. Because at this time, I'm the chief deputy coroner. So let's go ahead and do it. So I start putting this up on live. And from there, people really started to engage because let's face it, getting on a page for the government and finding and then being able to hear, it's
It's
like a
really
nightmare,
hard. Yeah. On
right?
our county council, we can't hear those
Yeah.
meetings. We can't hear
So
them.
everybody knows you want to see something, go to Catherine's page. She's got it, and they say nobody's listening. But as we go and we've changed over this time, I mean, I get over 4 million views now. So even if they're saying no one's listening, we only have 129,000 people in our county. So somebody's clearly listening, right? So from there, and here's the thing, I have been at this for 6 years. This didn't happen overnight, and I
Right.
have taken my beatings. So as we went through that, I ended up or ended up leaving the coroner's office after 22 because it was a 4-year term. Because at that point, the actual coroner thought he could do it better. That's fine. Here you go. Have at it. Fast forward 8 months into 23, he ends up resigning. So now we have a caucus. So I go in and I'm like, well, I'll caucus into this. I already know that it's stacked against me because all the PCs get to vote. It's a countywide seat.
That's precinct chair members. So
Yeah.
Republican precinct committee people in your county would
Right.
get to have a say whether you would get this job or not. This is one reason
Right.
why being a PC is super important in Indiana.
Right.
You
And
want
we
this
have
role. And I'm the
112
PC
seats.
for my county for the Democrats.
Yeah. And I don't know how many you have. We have 112 is how many we have. So then I go in, and of course they're like, you can't bring anybody, yada, yada, yada. Well, the other person, there's three of us, but the other person who's running against us had actually quit the coroner's office while we were in session. Right. So, and I don't, and Adam knows I don't have anything against him. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not the truth. I'm not bashing Adam at all.
And this is
And
the guy that was the coroner that you worked
who
with.
is now the coroner. This is
Oh, okay.
who ends up winning the caucus. Well, he'd always been a Democrat, but he knew a Democrat couldn't win. So he had been voting as a Republican, right?
Right, right, right. We
And
have people
so,
that do
but
that
if you
too.
went to his Facebook page, he's pro union because he is a firefighter. I mean, and that's the thing. It doesn't bother me. That doesn't mean he's a bad person. But here, everybody wants to point out all my flaws. And I'm thinking, but you keep promoting the same people that you're calling me out
They're
for. I don't
saying you
understand what you're
can't
doing.
run for things because you didn't vote Republican twice. And you're like, but all these people are voting Democrat. So clearly they're just using the rules when it benefits them.
The abuse of power. I mean,
Yes.
ultimately, it's the abuse of power.
Yeah.
So from there, there was a great man who kind of was watching all this, and I am not saying his name because he no longer is involved in this, and so
Sure.
I'm not saying his name. So he sat down and he started thinking, and his wife at the time, she's very good, and that's a whole another story. I'll talk about her later, but um, we decided to run PCs, but to keep the precincts very quiet. Now,
Okay. So
just
you're thinking we need better precinct chairs. We're going to help quietly recruit them?
Because
Because we're doing
honestly,
this on the Democrat side in Indiana right now. So this is part fascinates me
right.
how you did this.
Yeah, because honestly, what do you have to do to change a county? You
Right.
have to cut off the head of the snake,
Right.
right?
How do you get
You
rid
just
of your
have to. You
bad
don't have
chair?
any choice,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Once you cut off the head of the snake, then they begin to question their power and their ability, right? I mean, now they start grasping. I mean, once you do this, they'll bite off their nose to to spite their face. They'll do
Oh yeah.
anything they can. Well, when they do this, because they're in such panic mode, and you're kind of in the driver's seat, they just keep making one screw up after the next, exposing more of their flaws and how they're abusing the power, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what comes of this. So we go, and just to back up, before right before the caucus, Russ Willis sends out to all the PCs that I've always voted Democrat, and I only switched to Republican in 2020 when Dr.
But that's a
Abbott ran.
lie. That's a
And
lie. You
I'm
just
like,
started
you
voting.
just challenged me
Right.
saying I only had what do you so now this is a bold-faced lie. Now they think that they can just do a bold-faced lie and it's okay. No, it's never okay to just lie to get your way. So then he says, well, she gave $1,000 to Joey Cole's sheriff campaign, and he's a Democrat. And I'm like, I did. I had no idea about this, right? I mean, I didn't know. And here's the thing, people. They want to tell us that we should know the rules, but nobody knows where the rule book is. I mean, I don't know about you. When you went to register to vote, did they say, oh, by the way, thank you for registering to vote. Now here's the rule book. I don't think they've done any of that, right?
No.
So that's what becomes even a bigger problem, because they're
What are
quietly
the
over
rules?
here changing the rules for
Right.
anybody who is questioning their ability. And that becomes a problem. So as we go in, um, he gets this amazing idea. He gets notarized, and
Who's
he's like,
he? Who's he?
well, I'm just going to keep him as he because he's no
Oh,
longer
okay.
doing this.
Okay, got it.
So he's part of our team. He
Okay.
goes and he gets this, because I don't have his permission to say his name, so I'm not going to
No,
say
no,
his name.
that's fine. I was just confused on which side
Yeah.
we were talking about. So people
So
are trying
he
to fight
goes
this
and gets,
corruption.
yeah, he goes and gets notarized quietly. And then we begin to quietly build a spreadsheet looking for PCs. And
So
the
so
problem
step
is,
one to getting a good to getting good PCs in your county is you need a good notary. We
well,
talked about this on the phone.
you need a notary who's available. You need a notary who, you know, kind of can explain this to the people, how to fill out the forms, make sure I mean, and that's the thing. This man was meticulous at what he did. And let there be no mistake to this man. He has a full-time job. That is a very responsible job. There's
So he's
nothing
busy,
about
but he's
him.
making time for this. So
Yeah.
this is something we can do, everybody, when we're trying. We need a good notary, and you can become a notary. You said it's like a 10-hour class to become a
Yep, you
notary.
just listen to it, you get notary, and then you get a bond, and then you have it. I mean, that's just what you
I
do.
know, like a lot of librarians are notaries. A lot of people are
Yes,
notaries that
right.
you
But
wouldn't
you
think
don't
are
know
notaries.
who's going to leak the information.
Right. So you
So,
got to get a trusted person that can keep the notarizing quiet. So
right,
that is something I had never heard of before, and how we get better precinct chair people. I didn't know this part. So this was
right.
interesting to me.
Yeah. So what he does is he gets all of these, and he wasn't by himself. I mean, we had other players in there, and we're quietly collecting people. So we had strategic people in different quadrants of the county who knew what would be the that's the dog. We had people in different parts of the county who knew who was trustworthy people that we could go and get
That's what I
these
was going to ask. How
applications.
did you find
Because
these good PC chairs?
yeah,
Did you just call them up and tell them what was going on and see if they do it?
to be honest with you, a lot of people reached out to us. A lot of people were so fed up. You will find that there are a lot of people
Oh
who
yeah,
will
I know a
come,
lot of people fed up in my
right?
county with what's
And
going
so we've
on.
been keeping a list, and then we waited to the last, I don't know, the last 90 days right before filing. We started to maneuver all of this stuff and get everybody's paperwork all going, and everything. Let me tell you something. The hero was him, because the amount of driving that he did
Oh,
in
to
this
get all
400
the
over
paperwork filled
400
out and
square
to
foot.
notarize it. So
Yeah.
he's
And then,
driving to their houses.
yeah.
He's
And
not,
this
yeah.
person's busy,
Okay.
and then he has to go back. I mean,
So it's
the
going to take a
hero.
really dedicated some
Yeah.
people to do this. It's going to take some time. It's going to take
Yeah.
some driving. You need to get a notary or be a notary, become a notary.
Right.
So that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Right.
Okay. And they're
Yeah, and
driving
so
to
the
their houses
hero
and having them fill
in
it out.
no matter what anybody wants to think, the hero really was him because we're all making the calls. He's out there running around with his head cut off,
So it's
right?
this quiet organization that you guys are doing of just a few people
Yes.
going and becoming signing people up to be PCs. So the Republican Party cannot stop. They can't stop who the PCs are, right? As long as they voted Republican or voted Democrat, depending on which PC
Right.
you're trying to be
So,
for the last two elections, right? The last
right.
two primaries.
And that was our biggest thing because we don't really have a way to check their vote history, and
See, I can.
we
I
knew
have
that we would
we
lose
can look. We can
some.
check our van. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the 24 challenges in 2024, that was the biggest challenges Madison County has ever had because as we brought these PCs, we had, well, then we have a great attorney by the name of Laureen White. And she, was instrumental at some of these things because some people, their voting history, it doesn't even say if they were a Democrat or Republican when they voted, but you get an affidavit saying, yep, at that time I did. It goes through. She came to the challenges. She stood by the people who were getting challenged because it's a scary thing. So we had a loyalty to the people who were willing to put themselves out there for us to also protect them and stay with them as well. And so
So
Laureen
you couldn't
White,
even search for it, right, Catherine? You couldn't search because if you called your county clerk's office and asked for the records, which is something I did yesterday because I'm running for
yeah,
state house
yeah,
to get the records to see who's voting, you couldn't do that because that would alert the people in power
right.
what's
Why is Catherine
happening.
looking at so many vote histories? Right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's interesting. So
So
you
you
just had
had,
to. So you're relying on the people being like, "Are you
mhm,
sure you voted
mhm.
Republican in the last two primaries?" And that was your biggest gamble.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
most of them were pretty spot on. I mean, we lost a few through that. I want to say it's been a minute. I want to say we had in the upper 80s as for PCs. I can't say for sure. And some of them were contested. Some of them did have challengers in their areas. We're not going to win them all,
Probably some
but
won and some lost, right?
yeah.
In the
At
challenges.
the end of the day, we won about 40%, right? So
Wow.
now out of 112 seats, 100 I think 101 of them were elected. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
because
right,
we're appointing a lot here because we
right,
can't get enough people to, and so then the chair has a lot of power in who they're appointing because they're going to only appoint people that are going to do what they want. Well, they
right,
could do that.
right.
We
And
don't do
and
that in my
and
Democrat
we
Party,
had
but
pointed
yeah,
that out. Now remember, people, when those seats are open, if he's got a core bunch of people that are in the southern part of the county, but he's got a bunch of open in the northern part of county, he absolutely can put them in those seats.
that's
They don't
right.
have
When
to
you
live in
appoint
that
it,
area,
they don't have to live in the area. Yeah, I just learned that too. I'm trying to figure out all the laws,
right?
all the rules we
Now,
got. Yeah.
here's what I will tell people what I did, and only because I own a medical practice. I know a lot of people in the county because, I've been in town for a long time practicing medicine. Um, I went through the voters walking lists and to see if I knew anybody. And I'm like, "Oh, I know this person. They're very trustworthy." And that's how because some of the areas we just didn't know anybody in. I mean,
Right.
112, that's like, right? So
Right.
I'm like, let me break it down to that PC area and see if I know any good Republican that's on there. And then I would call them and say, "Hey, have you voted twice in this area? This is what we're doing. This is what I need. Can you keep this quiet?" Well, so many people have been watching me through the years are like, absolutely, we're totally in. I mean, there really are people who want us to
And
win and take back our
you've been
power.
sharing mostly on Facebook, right? You've been sharing on
I
Facebook your
pretty much
videos,
only
your
do
evidence.
Facebook.
You've been explaining what's going on. You're not explaining the PC chairs because that's quiet,
Right.
but you're explaining about the corruption and why your county is having bad things happen.
Right.
And so people know you from that being like a truth teller in your county.
Right. And so, and that's the other thing. At one point, this gentleman who was the amazing person who kind of got her, he ran an amazing Facebook page called Madison County Government Accountability, which put out a lot of documents, put out a lot of information. Um, and and what happened was their manipulation of power began to unravel because people are like, wait a minute here. So we would go up to the courthouse. We would ask for documents. They'd like, we can't give it to you. What do you mean you can't give it to me? Well, we would be on live and show how disruptive this is. Then we would show, well, they're charging us $1 a page. Well, you can't charge us $1 a page. You can only charge us 10 cents. So it was things like that that began to show how they're all aligned. every county council meeting I was at, I put it up in live. I've attended that for 6 years. And so that always gets a lot of views and it gets a lot of people engaging on there and they know what's going on.
So this is
So
something else, you guys that are trying to think, well, how can I help my county? How can I help my area? You are allowed to Facebook Live these meetings. Everybody can do that. Yes, they have to do it now. It's by law, but a lot of times we can't hear them and they don't post it someplace where it's easy for people to find. So, you can go to your county council, your town council, your city council meetings, and you can put your phone on Facebook and then you can put them on groups. There's a lot of groups of local pages, right? You probably have some of
absolutely.
them.
So mine gets shared to probably 70,
You
80
just make it
pages.
public on your Facebook. You don't make it for just your Facebook friends. You
Right.
make it public so it can be shared and everybody can watch it.
Right. And my
Right.
entire Facebook is public to anybody. Anybody who would like to visit my page, it's completely open to
And
anybody.
what
You're
is your
welcome to
page
have
called, Catherine? Go ahead and tell us.
it's just Catherine Callahan. I look
I
my
follow you
pictures.
now.
Yeah, my picture's right on there. It's got running for Senate District 25. In the past, it always had our beer cooler morgue. And so we have a beer cooler morgue on a pole barn. And that's kind of what set me off in Madison County is when Officer Shanavez died. I was the coroner who brought the officer home. And here we are in this gravel floor pole barn with a beer cooler. I mean, it was awful. And so, and I'm thinking to myself, do you people have any self-respect at all? And that's kind of when I hit my limit. That's when I turned him into OSHA. That's when I've done a lot of the things. I have sued the county in federal court. I'm not allowed to talk about all the details of it, but that's public record if people want to go and look at all that. And I've won. I mean, it's one of those things that I do stand on my conviction. And so in 23, I did sue the town of Lapel for the bringing in a junkyard, and it went through all the different departments, the county council, planning, but it wasn't done correctly, and it wasn't done transparently, and it certainly wasn't done by not telling about conflicts of interest. And so, even I had a different attorney who did that. I'm telling you right now, if you want an amazing attorney, that's Russ Kate. He is in Fishers. He is absolutely amazing. And he represented me in that. And he said, we have 10 days to put this together. And he's like, it's already at the BZA. He says, this is a long shot. And I said, you know what? We're going to go for a Hail Mary right now. And we went. It took about 45 days and we won 5-0 unanimously against the BZA. Now that did cost me over, I don't know, between $40,000 and $50,000 of my own money to put that out there, but it was worth it because after all, these people come to me every day to keep them safe. How can I turn my head and allow, the people to have potentially contaminated water because they were putting it down by our wellheads. So that became an issue for that,
And
but we
hopefully you
won.
got a
It
lot
was
of attention. It's so
we
rare. I
we did.
wish you lived in Harrison County. Would you like to move down here and help
I hear
me
that a
with some
lot.
of the
I
things that we have here in our county? Because we have a casino and we've got all kinds of problems. We have a park superintendent that controls the whole county.
Yeah,
It's terrible. Oh man. Yeah, I
yeah.
wish you were down here.
Well, there, and if you look at my Facebook page, you'll get lots of ideas of what
Yeah,
people should be
that's
putting up and what people should be doing. And listen, there's nothing about Katherine Callahan that is this amazing brain that she's come up with all this. There were good people along the way who taught me how to do this.
yeah, I'm
You
learning
know,
too from other people
the
how to do because
right,
I'm trying to
the
call out
gentleman
corruption
who,
too. Yeah.
yeah, the gentleman who ran the Madison County Government Accountability page, watching what he does, seeing how he will calculate it, how he posts. Now, I wish I could condense things down like he used to, but I could never get it to that point. But he did an amazing job when he had that. And then watching Miss Crooms, who is a Democrat, I mean, watching what she did was amazing. And it's not just one person who helps us get to the other side. It's a group of people that we have to be aware of have come to help us, but use their knowledge and their resources of what they've experienced, right? I mean, Miss Crooms is in her 70s.
Wow.
She's not for the weak. She is still actively involved. She still goes to meetings. She still speaks out. I mean, here's the thing. So in 23, we had no, yeah, no, in 24, we had where you test the machines, right?
Yes, the voting machines.
Right. So she did the spring one, and Russ was so rude to her. And she's like, "Well, where are these rules? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "These are the Russ Willis statutes."
Oh, that's not
Okay.
how elections are supposed to be
Right.
ran.
So I
It's supposed
felt
to
so
be the
bad.
Indiana Secretary of State like rules
Right.
here.
Right. So I felt so bad. And I thought, you know what? So the fall came when we did the testing of the machines. So I went to that one. Well, in that one, they were like, "You're not filming." I'm like, "Excuse me?" They're like, "You're not filming." And I'm like, "Oh, but I am filming." I said, "This is a government building. We are absolutely filming."
You sure are allowed to.
So Miss Crooms is looking at me like, "What do we do?" Well, I'm in this section of the auditorium, and you always want to split up. People don't sit by people who are all filming because you want different angles. Okay. So she's down in front. She keeps looking back at me. And I'm like, "Turn on the camera. We're filming." So now in come the sheriffs, the deputies. I'm like, "This is just out of control."
So they're
So she's
calling the
like,
sheriff on you because you're filming?
"The deputies." Yeah, because we're filming. I'm like, "Go ahead, call them. I
The
don't care."
deputies.
I mean, you don't make me now. So, I mean, the actual sheriff knows the drill, right? So we're sitting there. And so I'm like, "I don't know who's sending Rosa Parks to the back of the room and that she can't film." Okay. I have no idea because I know we are right now in 2024. So Katherine Callahan is sitting right here, and she's going to sit where she always sits in the front row, and she's going to film. That's just how it's going to be. In the meantime, she's filming, my camera's rolling. I have to step outside, and I'm outside at about 15 minutes being detained. And I'm like, "You're going to have to call the sheriff." And they're like, "No, you don't understand." I said, "No, you don't understand." So in the meantime, while I'm outside, I'm like, they're like, "Well," so they call dispatcher like he's busy. I'm like, "No." So I call the sheriff's cell phone number. I'm like, "I don't even care at this point." And so and he's like, "I'm in a meeting. What do you?" And I'm like, "Listen, you need to get on my Facebook Live because they're not going to let me film this thing." And he's like, "What do you mean?" So he gets and he's like, "They can film." In the meantime, um, a friend of mine comes up and because I call him because I'm like, "Hey, what?" They're not letting. And he's like, "What do you mean you can film?" So he comes up and he starts filming. So now they're pushing back on him, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And so he's just
So they,
reciting
even
Indiana
after the
code.
sheriff
I
said
mean,
they can film, still
yeah,
not getting
you
it.
would think
Okay.
that he was an attorney the way he walked in there, and he's just, In the meantime, I had no idea that Larry Savage had taken ballots. These are test ballots. Now, at the
So that
beginning of the
there's a reason
meeting,
they don't want you in that room
right? At the
looking
beginning
at the
of the
election stuff.
meeting, Tim Lannon, who's the ex-senator and had been in there for over 20 years, said, "If you're not going to listen to me, do what you want to do. I don't care." Well, at that time, he's on the county election board. I'm like, "Well, he just gave permission to all these people, right?" So the next thing I know, the state police are at Larry's house with a search warrant. And so I knew something was going on during this election, but I didn't know what was going on until all this happened. And then I had to go back and watch the films.
Ah.
And what became so interesting with the films, and we've done tons of podcasts on this, is that they had told us that all the machines were done. But you could tell they were looking for something. Like I had no idea. I kind of assumed that maybe one of them ate something or, something was missing. I don't know, maybe it didn't cycle through. Not until I went back and I watched the films, while she was distracting us, telling us all the machines were fine, the other partner who works on those machines leaves the room, he goes and makes 3 ballots, comes back and feeds it through the machine. While this lady is still talking, you look at the machines and then you notice suddenly that last machine flips to match the first 2. Well, wait a minute here. You said they were all closed and all the machines were done with ballots. And again, and here's the thing, if I would have seen that in the room, I would have said, "Whoa, slow your roll. What are you doing?" But I didn't catch it until after we watched the films like 3 or 4 times. So that becomes a whole big thing. They charge Larry, they arrest Larry, they go through the whole rigmarole. He has to do some type of plea. I think he's got another month and then he's off of that. I don't
And I guess
know.
he's not in charge of the elections in your county anymore, correct?
No, no, no. Larry was just a constituent there to watch. He was just, but there was so much chaos in the room. And he even asked at one point, "Are we allowed to have these ballots?" It sounds like somebody said yes, but I wasn't in there at that time. So I don't even know what was going on. So, anyways,
So they're
somehow,
arrest this guy. Do we know, was he doing something wrong?
well, he took the ballots home,
He
the
took the
test
ballots
ballots.
home.
the
Okay,
test
he took
ballots.
test ballots home. Okay.
Mhm. And so in the meantime, somehow I get thrown in the middle of this, another person gets thrown in the middle of this, and it's all in the papers. And I'm like, how do I was just I
You were
wasn't even
just
in the
trying to
room.
film the meeting, the public meeting about the election, about
Yeah.
about getting the machines
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
that's
nobody
wild.
yeah, nobody wants to address the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to say, "Hey, did you see how they went and made up those ballots and distracted everybody?" Nobody wants to talk about now how easy it is to make up ballots and, and how do we know how many ballots they're making up, at election night? We have no idea. It was that simple.
So here's my question. So I go after corruption in my county, and the main person I'm going at that I shine a light on is Larry Shickles. Larry Shickles used to be the chair of the Harrison County Republicans, and then he gave himself the position of superintendent of the Parks Department when the
Mhm.
superintendent that was really good retired. And now he's superintendent of the parks. He's on the zoning commission. He's on the hospital board, and he is the Republican for the election board or whatever.
Yeah.
So we have evidence. We have all these state audits of mismanaged money with the parks.
Mhm.
Also, his like adopted sister is the person that does the books for the parks.
Mhm.
And there's missing money. He's had to pay money before. There's all kinds of problems where they don't get 3 bids for for playgrounds and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
they're getting like the biggest playground in the state for our Hayeswood Park. They're spending, over $2 million on it. And there's all kinds of shady things happening. I'm worried now after hearing this about Larry Sickles being our election person. So it,
So here's
I
the
just I'm
thing.
just concerned and I don't know what to do about that. I mean,
Right.
he's our election person. What do we do?
Yeah. So at some point, you have to take the people to task, right? So there was another amazing man by the name of Rob Joswiak. Now, many people in our county, some are not fans. That's fine. That's your choice. So in 24, I'm pretty sure it was, yeah, 24, Rob went in and he wanted to canvass on election night and he was turned away, but he had it all on film. One of our other amazing partners said, you know what? Those films are public record. I want all the cameras in the courthouse. That turns into another thing against Russ Willis, our GOP, that he's violated the rules. Now, it does get disappointing, people, but you can't give up.
Right,
So
right, right,
this
right.
goes on the election board, and Russ sits on the election board. Okay. Now, this, if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican watching this is for you. Because this has to be the most the most audacity and power of abuse I've ever seen before in my life. So we go through this. It's a back and forth. They meet several times because they think they're just going to wear the people down. So finally, we get to the point where, um, this we're going to have the final hearing. So now people are calling Diego, Larry Savage, calling Diego, telling Diego,
Diego
hey,
Morales, the Secretary of State.
yeah, Russ can't be sitting on the county election board hearing his own case, which is common sense, right? So we're in there. And Russ Willis, who's a Republican in our Republican GOP, who was the president of the county election board at the time, he appoints Democrat chair Terry Austin into his Republican seat to sit in for him. Now, I don't know
That's
anybody
pretty
that
wild.
is
That doesn't
is
normally
in worse
happen.
Republican standing than Russ Willis himself. I mean, you got to tell me on something like that. I mean, literally, this is a Republican seat. On top of it, we have a Republican clerk, and our Republican clerk doesn't even object. This is a problem. So I always become the problem because I just point out the obvious,
You just
right? I
point
mean,
out,
like I'm
wait,
going to change my
what are
name
you doing?
from
Yeah.
from Dr. Callahan, nurse practitioner, to Dr. Obvious, concerned citizen, right? So so we watch this, and what's even dumber to the whole thing, they still find Russ guilty and recommend it goes to the public or special prosecutor. Goes to the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor comes back with a ruling that says, while yes, technically this is a violation, he will not face any charges. Now wait a minute here.
So yes,
Larry
he's
took some
guilty.
sample test ballots. He went to jail and everything else. Russ does this and he actually commits the crime and there's nothing
And
to go by.
what is the crime that he committed?
He wouldn't allow canvassing on election night,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
right? So because and people, you are allowed to canvass on election night. It is your all the day where they're
You know what
counting
happened to
ballots.
me? I ran for state house this last time in 24, and I went to the high school in Cordon, and stood way far back, way farther than I need to. And I talked to voters as they were coming in, and somebody alerted the Republicans, and they got on their Facebook and they named me and acted like I was this monster harassing voters.
Mhm.
And they said they had a gentleman's agreement like 20, 30 years ago that said that they're not electioneering on election day. Well, I had no idea about that. And we have 100% power of Republicans in the county. So how else am I trying to get people elected other than talk to
Listen,
the people? And
if
so I
you're
had to go and fight that. And I'm like, you don't name me in your Facebook because you could convince people that I'm evil and maybe somebody could hurt me or my family. And it's scary. And so it was stressful.
and so what and so as long as you're 50 feet from the chute,
Oh, I was way farther than 50
right?
feet. I was a couple hundred feet.
No,
I was like, I'm making sure I don't
like
get close.
literally, Russ will come out and get a tape measure and measure me 50 feet from the chute. And what do you think happens when Russ Willis shows up and is doing stuff like that? Catherine pulls up her live
Oh,
video
get your
and she's
phone.
like,
Yeah.
"Hey, everybody, I'm coming to you from this pole, and let's look at what Russ is doing." Right?
Love and Face Facebook Live to
Yeah,
uncover
I mean,
corruption,
and
really.
you will see me move from pole to pole and talking to everybody, just calling out what's out there. I tell people, take your cameras into the polls. Take pictures of your ballot. Take pictures of the machine. It's your information. You can't take pictures of anything else, but you can absolutely take pictures of what you're doing and your information. There's nothing wrong with that. You can post, you can do whatever you want with
You
it.
can take a picture of your own ballot
Absolutely,
and
because
you
it's
could
yours.
post it. You could be like, here's
Right.
how I voted. You could like show people that. Like that's
Absolutely.
allowed. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, we've had so much incredible corruption, and we had another great candidate, Lisa Rinker. She ran for commissioner. She lost by 90 votes. She did come back, and so people get involved, and they're going to come, they're going to go because they put themselves out there, and it's tough to be a candidate. It really is
It's
tough to be a
so hard to be
candidate,
a candidate.
right?
Yeah, this is my
It
third time
really
running.
is.
It's hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it'd be a lot easier for me to just sit on the sidelines and just shake the bushes, but I'm kind of the person who I'm either gonna put up or shut up.
Well, you're trying to fix some of the major problems in your county, and you're not just trying to get elected, you're trying to actually fix things, which
Sure,
is
yeah,
incredible. Yeah, so
yeah,
when you actually try to fix the problems, then it's hard to be a candidate. If you want to just do as you're told by your party and your party's in power, it's easy. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. Are you just trying to get elected and vote the way they tell you to, or are you trying to get elected so you can fix the major problems, clean up the corruption in your area? Then it's hard because the
right, and
people in
my
power
part
try
is
to stop you.
I wanna represent the people, and here's so then, this amazing man, and then we've got amazing Laureen White, who's the attorney, um, starts to look at financials, right? Election financials. And we noticed that Russ Willis, the GOP chair, is not recording the financials correctly. He's just
Ooh.
like, we took $14,000 in. That's it. He doesn't break it down. And I'm like, well, wait a minute here. You
Where'd you
should be
spend this
breaking it down
$14,000 on? Yeah.
because I sponsored a table. So you should be showing it in, money coming in that's greater than 100, and it's not there. So we took several years of the financials from the Lincoln Club and we filed it in the county election board. So that became a whole thing. Russ Willis got up there initially and says, well, I don't keep financials greater than 2 years, right? Laureen was there. She made him swear in. He swore in. And your testimony is that you don't keep anything longer than 2 years. Yes. Then we come back. Russ ends up submitting his financials that are amended. He amends like 4 or 5 years. Well, how did that happen? Because you under oath testified that you only kept 2 years and nothing more, and you didn't think you had to keep more than that. Well, it says it in the book. You got to keep 4 years worth, right? So here we've got the ex-Senator Lannon, who's also an attorney sitting on the county election board. Then we've got Linda Smith sitting up there, and no one questions this. And you guys sign off on all
So
this,
you're
and
saying
you
there's
take his
lawyers
financials,
that clearly know this is wrong and they're
right?
just not doing anything. They're not doing
I
their
mean,
job. Yeah.
this stuff. But here's the thing I want to tell everybody: we may not win every battle, but I'm telling you right now, we are going to win this war
Yeah,
because the power is really in the people. And the more
right.
people that get involved, that's how you win,
And
right?
more people are getting involved in this
They
state
are
because
because
the
people are
corruption has
tired.
gotten ridiculous in everybody's county. Everywhere the corruption is bad. There's just not enough accountability and transparency. We have the rules, but the people in charge of the rules aren't following through with them. That's what
Right.
you're saying. Here you're coming through with they're doing something wrong. Oh, you did it wrong, but you're not charged and we're not going to do anything to fix it.
Right.
I'm having that down here in Southern Indiana as well. How
Right.
did
And
you
if I were you,
eventually? Yes, tell me.
start pulling the financials, follow the money. If I were you with this gentleman you're talking about who's got the parks boards all screwed up, oh, give me the receipts, give me the financials. I want to see all the bids. Do all of
That's
it.
where
I
I
mean,
need help. I'm not a great like money accountant type person. So if there's anybody listening that would like to help me with this, I need help with pulling the documents and getting we have
mhm.
some of the documents. We have some stuff, but we can ask for more. But yeah, there's tons of signs of it. We just nobody's doing anything about it. We
And
know
that's
it.
the yeah, that's the thing as far as exposing it all and putting it so we put financials up. We take the pictures. We do everything we can to hold them accountable at whatever that cost is. Now, don't get me wrong, right? So, when was it? In October, it was September or October of 24. I was in a county council meeting. And in that county council meeting, I heard Tom Eckert go to the podium. And Tom Eckert goes to the podium and he's like, I'm from he's the secretary for the commissioners, whatever he wants to call himself. I call him the secretary. He wants to use some other title. I don't care. So he's the secretary, he goes to the podium and he's like, listen to the council. I need $100,000 more of money because I've already spent $80,000 of bills that need to be paid. And then he says, and I've got more coming in. So that's what the extra 20 is. Well, I'm sitting in the seat in the council meeting and I'm like, what did he just say? So I'm like, I think he just said he already spent that money and he doesn't have the money. So I go up to the podium because when they are asking for new money requests, the public gets to speak. Like that's one time you cannot change. And I'm telling people right now, you need to take those opportunities when you have the right to speak and you need to speak. So I go to the podium and they want you to give your information. And like I told them this, I'm not giving you my address when I'm on Facebook Live so
I
everybody knows
know
I'm not
they do
home.
that to us too, but you don't have they like acted like if you didn't do it, you can't be on. I've had to do
That's
that.
not
I've
true.
had to publicly
No.
say my
It,
address.
let
Oh,
me
you
tell
don't
you
have
what you
to.
do. Let me tell you what you do. You go find their address. And when you go to that podium, you give their address.
Okay, I got to tell you this before we
I
get
mean,
off. My person, Larry Shickles, does not live in our county. He does not live in our county. He lives in Mitchell. He has a rental property that he doesn't live at that he says he lives at. So we have that.
yeah. And that's so hard to prove. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
what
Even
that's
though
what my
right?
investigative reporter that did a story on it for me in News and Tribune. That's what he said. He said that's
Yeah,
hard to
it's
prove.
just but you know what? If you follow the money, it's so much easier to prove. You know? And so but I will give you some information on that when we get
Yeah,
off
I'll
this
take any of
air
your help you
to
want to
go
give me.
look at. Yeah, because there is a piece and there is this gentleman who i- i- so he's quite smart and gives me a lot of good advice. So, you know, so we go around and
And he also
I
calls
go
me
to the
like
podium.
mentally insane on Facebook and stuff. He does that a lot. I don't know
He says
whether
that about
that's
you?
yeah.
Well,
But he
see, you
says
should
she now. He won't use my name. He'll say she, and then people will say my name in the comments.
yeah, and so I mean that could be libel if it's not. So then I go to the podium and I said, did he just come up here and say that he needs $80,000 to pay bills? I said, I think that's a misappropriation of funds. And I think it's a class B misdemeanor. And I sat there for a minute and I said, you know what? It's not a class. It's not, I think. I know. It's a class B misdemeanor. It's a misappropriation of funds. And I said, the reason why I know is because in 22, you sent me a letter from this county attorney that's sitting right here. And you told me in writing, well, this sparks a whole thing in the meeting. I get walked out by the sheriff. I mean, it becomes a whole, and here's the thing, people, I was sitting down in my seat. I wasn't doing anything, right? So so they're calling all the sheriffs to come to get me, and everybody's like, nope. So finally, the elected sheriff comes and he goes, Catherine. I go, John, are you arresting me? And he goes, is that how this is going to be? I go, it absolutely is. So he goes and he's like, you guys, listen, this is Catherine. Are we really going to do this? Are you guys really thinking this through? And they're like, no, we're going to do this. And he's like, I just think this is a bad idea. And so, and he looked at me, nodded to me, and I was like, fine. I left my camera rolling and I left. I mean, it did not matter to me one bit or the other. The fact is now you have it all on tape, and I called it out. Well, fast forward about 45 days. Now the county attorney who's been with us for a long time, their firm no longer wants to represent it, and they lost the attorney. Now we have a new attorney from
So is that still going on right now? You're still
somewhere
battling
else.
that?
So, oh no, I could battle that, but my point was proven, right? And I'm still under the 2-year statute, and I've been debating on maybe I should take this a further
Because
step.
there's too many court like cases for you to go after. There's too much corruption, so
Yeah,
you got to
I
pick your
mean,
battles.
yeah, and I'm only one person. And
Yeah,
so,
you're only one person, right?
and that's why even the sheriff was like, come on, you guys. Now, you know what she's capable of doing. We've already seen what she does. So we go through all of that, but now more people are aware. So they're listening when they're going to the podium. And that's the whole thing. I may not win every battle,
No, you're not going to win
right?
every one, but
But
you're standing up and fighting for what's
we're
right.
starting to win the war, right?
We're
So
gonna we're gonna fix this state. You and I are having this conversation right now. You, somebody running for as a Republican, talking to me, running as a Democrat, and we're sharing this information on how to stop corruption. We are going to win this war.
right.
Before we end, I want to know, how did you get rid of the Republican chair? Because is he gone now?
So here's the thing. He wants to say that he resigned. But I think between the financials, the canvassing, and all of that, that there was some underground, because I'm putting a lot of pressure on the prosecutor and everybody too, that there was, Russ, it's probably best that you stop while you're ahead because she's not going to let up.
And like
So what
maybe
they,
like you actually get charged with crimes
yeah, like
instead of
we're going
just
to
yeah.
let you not have this and we're going to give you a pass, but you cannot keep being the chair.
So it
Like
was like, we
I'm
have all this
speculating.
evidence. We're gonna
Yeah.
keep going if you don't. And so
Yeah.
he
I'm
resigned.
Yeah, I'm speculating that that's kind of the deal that was being made behind closed doors. So, um, so now, it's kind of open. We knew Kelly Hewer, who has been his vice, who's been it's him in a skirt, is essentially what she is. She is Russ in a skirt. And so she went, we had Lisa Rinker offered herself up. Those two went head to head. Kelly won, Lisa lost. But Kelly's already showing her cards. Like Kelly, and I say this gently to people who are watching, Kelly is allowing a 26-year-old county councilman to run for sheriff. Okay. No history in law enforcement ever.
He's not a cop and he's
He's
26
not a
and he's
cop.
running for
He's
sheriff
never
in your
been a cop,
county.
and he's running for sheriff in our county. Now, there are some things that chairs should do. And we have 3 other sheriff's running. So the incumbent, John
And are
Beeman,
those people cops?
is running. Yeah, he's a retired U.S. Marshal.
Okay,
He's
that's
running,
good.
right? He's getting through his first term. We have Kim Steigel, who is a female. She is a deputy. She's been a deputy for probably over 30 years. She's running. Then we have Brian Bell, who's a retired deputy sheriff, and he's running. And then we've got this Jonathan Culp, right? Well, his family is all intertwined in this. Father-in-law is a judge. Mother-in-law is a county councilwoman. Mother's a city sitting, Anderson City county councilwoman. Dad's the auditor. So you're seeing this whole dynamic. And what I've done lately is just put out to the public, like, listen, you need to understand he's sending out these flyers, but is anybody looking that he has no credentials? It just says he's fiscally responsible. He's a family man.
It,
But voters don't pay attention to those small details, right? He's already sent out 2 or 3 mailers. He's knocked on more doors than
so
all
this
3 of those
26
sheriffs
year old is
together.
doing a good job of running this campaign,
And
even though he's not qualified.
if you think
Wow.
that name recognition can't win a race, oh, it can. But it also shows you the poor leadership of Kelly Hewer, because here's the thing. We just had our challenges here in Madison County. So we've got Russ who signs off on anybody that'll go his way. Then we got Kelly going, I'm not going to sign off on anybody, right? I'm just not going to sign off. We have like a 20-some-year-old kid who wants to run for a seat in one of the small towns. He wasn't of age when when he could first vote. So he only has one Republican vote. He's the perfect person that you would want to sign off on, right? I mean, after all, they're young Republicans. Don't you want to embrace our young Republicans? Don't you want them to come
Don't we
in?
want young people involved in our community?
Right?
Yeah.
But instead, you take him to the podium and you whip him like a hanging. I mean, you feel so sorry for him when you watch the challenge,
They
right?
really, this is so interesting to me because what happens in your county is so similar to what happens in my county. It makes me think it's happening in a lot of people's counties across the
Oh,
country, not just
sure.
Indiana, how
Sure.
things are done. Like the thing where you're saying family name, families own a lot. We have that. We have a family that's nice, the Kellums, and they have one of them CEO of the hospital, one of them's a commissioner, one of them's a county council member. These three siblings, and they're nice people, but they're being kind of manipulated by the
Oh, sure.
Republicans in charge to just kind of do what they're told, and that seems to be a big problem in my county, and I bet it's a problem in your county too.
Oh,
They're just
absolutely.
doing as they're told.
Absolutely. And that's what becomes a problem when we don't have independent thinkers. When we have people who are drinking all the Kool-Aid, it becomes a problem,
It
right?
becomes a problem, huge problem.
And people know it, but people fear speaking out because they know what the
Yes.
retaliation is like.
Do you have this? We have a lot of like gossip and what's it called? Bribery. What is that called when you're trying to like if you don't do what I said, I'm going to release this dirt on you. We have a lot of that in the county. Do you
Okay.
have that?
Well, we don't have
Because we have
kind of like
like
extortion kind. I mean,
right, we have like the commissioners have dirt on the cops, but the cops have dirt on the commissioners, and so they just let each other get away with their stuff. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Well,
We have
here's the
that kind
thing.
of stuff going
Yeah.
on.
So here's the thing. Catherine has dirt on everybody, and Catherine just keeps putting it out
I know.
because at this point, the people deserve better than this.
We deserve
And
the truth. Yeah.
and what's so sad is that young Republican that they went against, my opponent, just at the beginning of February, was out representing the club for the young Republicans. He was at their meeting. His son's in charge of it. His daughter-in-law's on the board of it. And none of you show up for this 20-year-old? What kind of senator is that? Now, if I were the senator, I would have been making phone calls. I would have been in there and I would have said, yes, I'm going to speak. Right. And the reason why I'm running for District 25 is because it's not just one area of Madison County that needs help. It's an entire area. And then they've got problems in Hamilton County. I have no problem going to their areas either and calling
Catherine,
it out.
Catherine, we need good Republicans at the state representing us so badly. Like we need you. We need you so badly. So do you have a primary? Are you in a primary for May 5th? Are there
Oh,
other
sure.
people
Yeah, it's
running?
Gaskell. He's the incumbent. That's who I have to go against. And if you watch the state house, he's the one that's kind of the speaker that's always up there and he's trying to get people to do this or do that. But that's who I'm running against. He's
So
always
so you're
front and center.
taking on Republican problem right now. So everybody listening, that if you live in District 25 for Senate, state Senate, make sure you're registered to vote. I think you need to be registered by like really early
So
April to get on
here's the
the
thing.
May primary,
Yeah.
right? May 5th to
You
vote for
can
May 5th.
yeah, you cannot register the day of the election. Please
Right.
understand that. People go to the polls all the time. I'll get the
Yep.
call. You cannot register the day of the election.
Now
You
you can in
actually
other
cannot
states, but not in Indiana. You can do that
yeah,
in California. You can do same
yeah.
day voter registration, but not here.
You cannot register 29 days prior to the election. So April 6th is the last day to register to vote. Is it?
For the primary. Yeah.
You can register to vote on your phone at www.indianavoterswithans.com. Takes less than 90 seconds. If you're sitting in a waiting room, you're like, hey, are you registered to vote? No, well, right here, just you can go right on your phone, register to vote, 90 seconds. As long as you have a government ID, your driver's license or something, you put it in and it's all over with in 90 seconds and you should be good
Also,
to go.
so few people vote in Indiana primaries that even though you're like, well, this is a big area, state senate's a 1/50th of the state. That's a big area. The people that actually go and vote on May 5th are so few that you have a huge a huge
battle.
voice. Yeah,
Yeah,
when you go and you pick whichever Republican or Democrat ballot and you pick your people,
right.
you have so much of a say. So I also have a primary too. I have two people, but I like the two people I'm running with, so that's not a problem. But like, um, that's so fascinating. I'm just I want to have you back on because I want to know more about what you're
Well, there's so
doing and
I
how
mean,
it's
like,
working.
I could
There's just so much, right?
yeah.
There's so much that you've been doing because you've been doing it for like 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell you all there's so many more stories that I could probably share with you if we know when we're going to be on. There's a huge amount of Madison County people who will get on, they'll start commenting to bring up remember
We can
this, remember
we can
that.
do that we can do that better next time. We can plan ahead the exact time and then we can release it on Project Next In on your stuff so we can get more people in your county involved with what's going on because it's happening everywhere and it just takes a few good people working together in your area to uncover it and you just got to be brave enough to shine a light on it. Like I mean look how brave you're being. You're doing what's allowed. You're Facebook living public, you know,
And you're telling the
public things
truth.
and you're yeah and you're coming up cross with you need to put that down or I'm going to arrest you. That's scary. So you have to be brave if you're going to do that. In my county you're allowed to Facebook live. They don't try to arrest you. Thankfully, I don't think. I don't know whether we're filming the election board meetings, but I think maybe we
And you
should be.
should. You
We
should
should be
film the
doing that.
election board meetings. You gotta divide and conquer. You gotta have more people up there. And that's the one great thing is more and more people are now coming out with their Facebook lives and coming to meetings and they're putting it up on their own social media. And that makes it even great. People are going to commissioner meetings and they're putting that up on Facebook Live. That's a wonderful thing, and you hate to see anybody get fired, right? You just hate to see anybody get fired. But yesterday, Madison County had a great win. Our county engineer was just not up to snuff, and the commissioners finally made a decision. And so good for them. But did we have some say in that? Are the constituents unhappy? Maybe the commissioners are waking up saying, you know what, we got to quit not listening to the people, right?
Yeah.
Because so many
Yeah.
are getting involved. So there's always something that you can
Yeah, you're
do.
not running for commissioner or county council. You're just shining a light on their actions and you're causing them to start to be a little better, right?
Correct. And
Right. So that
that's
can
the whole
happen
thing.
everywhere. That's an easy thing. You don't have to run for office. You can just be the voice shining a light on what they're doing.
Right.
And that makes them be a little more accountable for their decisions instead of just blindly doing as they're told.
Right.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
24, I ran for auditor. Everybody thought I was going to walk in and run for coroner, and I ran for auditor. And why? Follow the money. Listen, you want to see what your parks board's doing? You start running somebody who can get in there and get to the books. That's what
Oh,
you
we're
do,
still looking to find somebody to run for auditor in Harrison County. We need
right?
somebody on the Democrat side to run.
Well,
There's
listen.
major problems with our auditor.
So listen to me. You are running for Senate, correct?
State House.
State House. Okay. Should you not win, you should file to run as the Democrat for auditor, right? Because we have a sore loser law. You can't come back and run for the same thing twice,
But you can
but
run
you
for
can come
something
back and
else.
run for another seat.
Right.
And that's the thing. People may be so mad at that point that they're like, well, if there's one person who's been speaking out who's going to do this, it's going to be her. Listen, I only lost by 500 votes. I am not born and bred in Madison County. I mean, I lost to somebody who was born and bred in Madison County. That was a close race. I didn't spend nearly the money those guys spent. They spent close to $60,000. I mean, that's craziness for a seat. I mean, me and that's the thing, even with the Senate seat. I've put my name out for the people. I hope that by now people can see exactly what I'm going to do. I was in California about a year ago or so, and I got a call. I got some messages on Facebook. So I'm very accessible by Facebook. I got some messages on Facebook, and it was from Pittsburgh, which is about an hour and 10, 15 minutes away from us. And LKQ, who I had defeated in Lapel, was trying to get in Pittsburgh. So these people, it was going to go right to their backyards, contacted me, saw my information, and I said, well, let me help you. So I said, I'll be back. Their meeting was like on Monday. So we only had, I was coming back on Sunday. So I got a hold of Laureen, who's the attorney that I do a lot of work with. And she and I drove to Pittsburgh on that Monday evening. And we went in there and we supported the Pittsburgh people. Like, this is a bad idea. They started doing their song and dance like they did over here. And I'm like, nope, that's not true. There's this article, there's that article. And so LKQ ended up pulling out. Now, Pittsburgh isn't my community, but you know what? At the end of the day, We are all everybody's people.
Yep.
And if you can't help your neighbor, then who are you helping? And so I have to just believe that I am, waking up every day trying to do what's right for the people and that I do stand with the people. It's not, I don't just show up when it's convenient for me. I stand up when it's uncomfortable. I stand up when something's just not right. And I stand up for even if it's not, my area of expertise. I've researched it and trying to do that. So there's so much more I can share with people of what you can do to be involved in your community, but it just takes one person to stay at it. And that one person can become very infectious and really make a change.
And, like, I ran for county council to expose Parks Department corruption, and I didn't win, but I did expose a lot, and it was so interesting how the other side works. Like, one day I just went to the park, Buffalo Trace Park, that I'm saying, "Why do we keep giving the Parks Department money when they're doing a really bad job
Mhm.
upkeeping the park?" And I took pictures. I took, like, 20 pictures of how they're not mowing the grass, they're not taking care of the park benches. They're not taking care of the equipment. And I posted it on my Facebook. He looked at all the pictures and he tried to make things better. He
Mhm.
mowed the grass. They had people sanding and painting the benches. They tried. And then he used it as evidence to ask for millions of dollars worth of new playground equipment, which was not what I was asking for. I was just saying take care of the park. And then we don't have full receipts of what happened with that and the bids and the contracts, all kinds of shady things with asking for all that money. But anyway, it's just interesting because here I am. I can't get elected as a Democrat in my county. At least I couldn't back then. And I'm just using Facebook and I'm just taking pictures
Right.
of the park and I'm just saying, why does the county council and the county commissioners keep giving them parks money when they're not doing a good job on the upkeep? And it made him do a slightly better job on the upkeep,
Right.
at least that week. You know what I
And
mean?
that's where it all starts. So those are the kind of things. Now, just a couple of things because I just kind of pulled up. I hadn't been pulling up the comments. A couple of things for Tracy Martin. It is. I think you're asking us about the voter link. It's www.indianavoters.com. If you have somebody who's going to be 18 before the general election, November 2nd, they can register
Is it
now.
.gov? It's .gov, isn't it?
There's 2. There's
Isn't
there's
it indianavoters.gov?
you can look and see.
Well,
I've
I was
used
just gonna put
.com.
it as a banner, but I wanna make sure because I thought
But
it had to be gov.
yeah, you can. And then so if you have teenagers at home, challenge them to go back to class, to government and econ class, and challenge their friends all to register to vote. So just so you know that, if they're going to be 18, they can go ahead and vote in the primary at the age of 17. But the other thing I want to remind everybody, if you're voting for Katherine Callahan, you must pull a Republican ticket. I don't know how many people went into the polls and said, I'm not sure which one she's on, right? And
And they can't
so
tell, do they tell you? They don't tell
they
you?
won't tell you who it is. Now, that's a shame because everybody in my county knows what Katherine Callahan's ticket is. There and everybody will tell you there's nobody in question of what Katherine Callahan and what she's running. What's so sad to all of this, and I know the clerk Linda Smith is watching. What's so sad is that you really should have a sheet that's red and a sheet that's blue. And they both
Yes.
should be sample ballots that are sitting out
Yes.
there for
Before you walk
people
in
to
there,
look at
before you
them.
pick your ballot.
Yes,
Yes,
and they should be
duh.
able to see, and then they can say, "I need this red one." And you know what? It probably would comply with ADA rules. Those are the things we should be thinking about. We should be having voting to the lowest level of education voters so that everybody can do it. We shouldn't be
Right.
having it all the way up here just assuming everybody's an expert at voting. So that's the big thing that I would think that we would have that up front. Debbie Berry put up it's www.indianavoters.gov. Thank you for doing that. Um, on the other ones, um, couldn't agree more about the whole state and your name. So we've got lots of information that's going on here. It looks like a lot of Madison
And I
County
just want to
people are
say
on here.
I'm friends with Bo Bai. I'm friends with Bo Bai, who's running for Secretary of State as a Democrat. And he wants to clean this up and make it so it's easier for people to vote so that who you actually want to win your election can win your election. We have one of the worst states to vote in the whole country. And we have very low voter turnout, especially on the Democrat side, even though we have like 40 to 47% of us are Democrats. So I'm really pushing. I've had Bo Bai on my show twice now. I'm really pushing to help him get elected for Secretary of State. I know a bunch of
And I've tried
Republicans
to
that are
reach out
pointing.
to him because,
Well,
like,
I
I
have
have,
his cell, so I can help
yeah,
you
and
with
I
that.
have
I can mention him to
information
you. Yeah.
that he could, that if
And
here's the deal.
he was at our gala on Saturday that I helped run, the Harrison
Yeah,
County Democrat Gala, and he came and spoke and he said, Diego Morales is doing these things wrong. On day one, I want to have an audit and open up this office and clean it up and fix the corruption. So he's very dedicated to fixing the problems that our Secretary of State, Diego Morales, has right
right.
now. He's so
And
bad that Republicans are trying to primary him. Well, it's not primary. They try to vote him out in
and
the
I am
delegate
pro David
convention.
Shelton. I will tell you, I am pro David Shelton.
I don't
But the
know the
thing
other people, so yeah.
is that, you know, but why? I'm sure this whole election thing that happened, he'd be very interested in that case. That's not me giving something to a Democrat. It's me saying this was a problem, and
I
what are
just
you going to do about
Well,
it?
Bo's ready
Right?
to work. He's ready to work with everybody to clean up
Right.
Indiana. Like I'm
And
working with you right now. Clean up Indiana. Like who
right.
cares whether you're Republican or Democrat? Or are you on the side of the people of
Right.
Hoosiers?
Right.
Right.
And, here's the thing. Clearly, you're a Democrat. I'm a Republican. There was nothing on here about pro Republican, pro Democrat. It was two people coming together that says we have a county or a statewide problem. Right. And so that's all we were doing. So there's lots on here. And then Paula Smith, just to get back to you, you're asking when you go in, can you record? You are welcome to record anything that contains to you and pertains to you in that election. So if you go in and you want to take pictures, you want to record you voting, you are absolutely welcome to do that. They cannot tell you you cannot have your phone.
You
And
just don't want
as
to
we
record other people voting,
yeah.
right?
And that's right. You can't do it. And as we get closer to the elections, I will begin to put up the rules. I will begin to put up things so
I'm
that
gonna
people
start
know what
sharing
their
your
rights
stuff.
are.
I'm gonna start sharing your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll start doing that as we get closer as well. So and again, there's so much we can talk about. But what I ask of the people of Madison County and parts of Hamilton County that I'm going to represent, this election is for the people. My election is for them. I'm willing to put myself out there, but they are going to have to do the work too. The voters are going to have to knock on doors themselves. They are
Yeah.
going to have to pick up the phones. They are going to
Yeah.
have to talk to strangers in markets. They're going to
Yeah.
have to
It
say,
can't just
"Hey,
be
call your
you. You
Republican."
cannot save us. I cannot save us. This is
Right?
a group
It's
effort
You're right.
of us doing our
I
part, telling our friends, our neighbors, our families, hey, are you registered to vote? Do you understand what a primary is? Do you know what
right.
ticket you're going to take? And do you know who you're going to vote for? Do you know your local candidates? Because most of us are just bombarded with national news, or we're turning off the news because it's so
Right.
depressing and
Right.
divisive. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I challenge the people who follow me to register 10 people to vote. And then I challenge you to challenge them to register 10 people to vote. Make sure you write down their names and get them to the polls, because only half of the battle is getting them registered to vote. The other half, we got to get them to the polls, because if you don't show up, your vote doesn't count. So that's kind of what I have going on. I do have to get to the dentist,
Yeah, you got to
but
go. I want to do
like,
another thing, and I want to talk to you about some of the stuff going on the Democrat side, and I want to know more stuff that's going on the Republican side. We can kind of talk. How do we clean up this state together?
yes.
Together. Yes.
And
Thank you
this is
so
where it
much.
starts.
Yes,
Right
thank
here,
you
how
so
we're
much for
doing
joining us.
this.
So I want to have you back on. Maybe you can come back on in a couple weeks or so. Share this episode, everybody, and then let's clean up corruption in our local areas and in our
Absolutely.
state. And let's fix these real problems, because everybody in our state is hurting right now. So
Yep,
let's help everybody.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry to
You
cut it so
are
short, but I gotta run.
amazing. Everybody
Okay.
follow her. Bye. You
All
can go.
right. Thank you
I'll
so
end the
much.
show. Yeah,
Thank you
you
for
can go.
having me.
I'll talk to you later. Yeah, bye. You guys, you can follow her on her own Facebook, Katherine Callahan. Let me pull up her name for everybody. You can follow her Facebook page. You guys can do Facebook Lives on public meetings. You can expose the illegal things that people are doing. You can look up the laws. Use the internet. Use your AI. Use it to research the laws. It saves us a lot of times. I know a lot of time. I know I do it. Hopefully you liked this show and it helped you. We can do this. We're not going to win everything, but we can take on these bullies, and we can start to make things better and get it back to the people in Indiana. Thank you everybody for joining the show, and I'll be back on tomorrow. I'm going to interview another state house candidate. All right. Bye everybody.